Hello, everyone, and welcome to 5 Foot Step Insight Check. This is the very first time we are running this show, and it is a bit of an experiment for us. We're going to be talking about 5 Foot Step Season 2, Episode 1, Mistbourne the Musical. And we've taken some questions from the audience. We've got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, but mostly I'm joined here with the cast of the episode, and we're just going to kind of see what comes up. My name is Brendan. I'm technically, I guess I'm the content producer for 5 Foot Step. But I also played Liara on last week's episode. So we're going to be talking about a little bit of that. But I'm joined by some wonderful people here. Can I get you guys just to introduce yourselves as well, in case anyone doesn't know who you are? Let's start with our DM for last week.
Hi, my name is Mitch. I was the author and the DM of Mistbourne the Musical.
Hi, I'm Siobhan. I played Ven.
Oh yeah, because you already introduced
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Alec. I played Rosez Juniper Snap, the orcish
A little orcish, a little,
cleric / fighter with the big scythe.
Hi, I'm Vic, and I played Cav.
So basically, we're gonna.
Should I have said who Ven was?
No, there's plenty of time. There's plenty of time. We'll
Three-letter name.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically the format of today's show, we've got a whole bunch of questions that the audience submitted during the week after the episode. So we're going to go through some of those, but then later on, if we've got some time, after seeing where the conversation goes, we might take some questions from the chat as well. I have the chat here in front of me. I'm trying not to get distracted by it.
Everybody type in specifically at Brendan just to mess with him.
Yeah, but about halfway through the episode, I might ask for questions if anyone has anything that you want to, find out or whatever. But I want to start us off tonight. And this is something that I was curious about anyway, because this season we're running through a series of modules that we wrote as a community, as some of the DMs from last season, and also some of the other skilled authors from Melbourne in the D&D Adventurers League community. We decided to get together around the end of last year and put together our very first whole series that we could run. As a bonus thing. Like, I think even if we weren't doing 5 Foot Step, it would have been cool just to do as a writing project anyway. We'd already talked about this group, the Mistbourne, that we were kind of at the time didn't have a name, but it was a concept that we was kind of putting together as something that we wanted to integrate anyway. So we thought, this is Kismet, this is a great opportunity to put all this together and also have something that we can run for season 2 of 5 Foot Step. You've seen one of those modules. You're going to see 6 more over the course of this season. Several of us are the authors, and we'll get to talk about that. And Mitch has got the kind of first opportunity to talk about that. But I wanted to ask you first. I know originally you were writing a different module for this. It had a different title, a different concept. I wrote a tie-in in my module to your module that no longer exists. Everyone pretty much did that. All of the tie-ins in my module are to the elements of other adventures that have now been taken out, which is fantastic for me. But it's not a big deal.
That's why I do what I do, right last minute.
Wait, when are you doing yours, Alec?
Yeah, we'll get to that later. But let's phrase this in the form of a question.
Why?
What? Yeah. Why'd you do it?
Why did you do that?
Why'd you do this to me? No, personally. No. The question is, what made you change from the original module that you were writing, and secondly, what inspired you to write this particular module? What was the impetus? What was the influences and things that made you write and a fantastic module, absolutely. I think that you made the right decision to change.
Yeah, your other one sucked.
I never saw the other one. I cannot say that for sure.
Honestly, though, the whims of a creative, right? You start with A and you end up with Z.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you go through so many different changes. The title of the initial module was Tinker Tailor Scholar Spy.
Oh, that's right. I did
Oh,
know
I do
that.
remember
Yes,
that.
Yeah, and it used one of my characters who was initially, like, you've met them before, Nicola Knack, who was kind of, like, changed around for this module as, like, a former Mistbourne agent. And look, it was more political intrigue, a lot more kind of still having the fractured crew coming together and kind of healing through trauma to kind of see what their future would be like as a retired Mistbourne agent. And future ain't looking good. Like, it ain't nice. But I think, like, ultimately, this was the first episode, and for me, there's a lot of information that we kind of want to set for the grounds. There's a lot of, I guess, background and lore that we kind of want to put across in a very timely fashion, and I know that's interesting. I remember one morning I don't know if it was post-night shift or something, but I was lying on the couch, kind of half asleep, scrolling through Reddit, and on one of the subreddits as you do, they came up with this like video clip of this TV show that I'd never heard of before, and it was basically if we were in a medieval fantasy setting and Kylie Minogue owned a gay bar. The show was, of course, referencing Gallivant, which is a phenomenal musical TV show, and it's great. It opens up with a lot of exposition that's portrayed in like music, and I thought, what an actual like clever way of doing that. Like musicals do that. Like they've got a lot of content to cover, and in order to do that, they break the fourth wall.
Yeah.
They,
Exposition through song.
Yes, and I was like, why don't we transfer that through to a musical for D&D? And I've never heard of musical D&D, but I've with Dropout content like Make Some Noise and Play It By Ear, I was like, obviously this is some real talented theatrical improv actors, and we aren't necessarily that. But
How dare you?
yeah, but
Sorry?
No, that's
doesn't
fair.
mean we can't give it a red hot crack,
Yeah. So are you disappointed we didn't sing then?
No, not at all. Because
I'm secretly Ross Bryan, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is this the #1 Ross fan club
Oh,
yeah,
right on
oh,
this
yeah,
couch?
yeah.
I love him.
The most talented human being in the world,
Fantastic,
I think.
incredible.
And he does Shakespeare.
Yeah. Improv Shakespeare.
Exactly.
And my DMing style is very lazy. I like to do as little prep work as possible. So for me, it was just like, well, tying in the improv aspect with the musical theatre, get in the queer themes, just talking shit at the table. This is kind of what I love.
I think it's a fantastic way to have like a lot of empty space for us to fill with our character backstories and stuff too, which is also a difficult thing to introduce, especially like an Adventurers League format. But we are striking a tricky line between creating a show that spans a season with characters that are recurring and interesting and so forth, and also running a short time.
This
Adventure
is exactly
League
what I was going to say. I always really like doing your modules because there is usually that element which you don't get a lot of the time for obvious reasons in Adventure League, because they are drop in, drop out.
Yes.
Anyone can come in. We're just going to play a game. It's
Your
fun.
backstory doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No.
Yeah.
It's
Whereas-
not a key part of the
Yeah.
story.
Whereas, like, if you're making content for a show, you kind of want to have that, like, personal connection
Yes.
to the characters
And
that
I
are
think
on
that
the
you
screen.
made it important mechanically too. Like,
Yeah, totally.
we had like the the mirror thing and so forth. I think that really gave us kind of opportunities to introduce something about our characters.
The thing, if you can work it in and it's not just like a, hey, tell me about your character now.
Yes.
If you can work it into the plot points like you do, and a lot of the modules that I've played that you've written have something like that, I think it's great.
I know there's a big
Perfect.
trope where, don't bring your psychological problems to the table. Like, D&D is not your therapy
Yeah,
session.
sure,
At the same time, I'm just like, fuck off. Yes.
It's fine if everyone else at the table's like, yeah, bring it.
Look, as long as you can trust the people that you're playing with, and as long as you're, putting forward things that are reasonable and,
It's a consent thing as well. Like,
Absolutely.
don't just dump it on people, but if someone's asking you...
Yeah, this isn't a first date, all
No,
right?
yeah, exactly.
There's no trauma dumping here.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting module to see kind of how it, because each of these modules are also published or online. You can buy them on DM's Guild, and I'm curious to see, how this is taken upon by because I think this is absolutely going to be something that a bunch of people in the community are going to love, and
Yes.
it's absolutely not going to be for some other people.
Yeah, very much so. There's going to be a huge dichotomy between the two. But, like, with Adventurers League, and you've all played the same modules again and again, you can't just like, okay, well, what's new about this particular module this time? I like setting up improv-based modules because I do like them to be different each time they're run. I do like that experience to be a little bit more fresh. And I think sometimes with a musical, you can hopefully try and get that.
Yeah, I think I loved it, but I definitely can understand people coming in going, it's not for me.
Not for me.
Because, like when you come to, like, the different pillars of play, like this, it's got one combat at the end. It's not a combat module. And there are people who definitely will be playing D&D, playing AL for the combat.
Yeah, totally.
And this is not going to be a module for them.
I kind of forgot that we were playing D&D a little bit during the
That's
thing.
fair, yeah.
Like, and in a good way. Like, I was, grinning ear to ear during the entire thing. I rewatched the episode in the last 24 hours, and I was like, and I'm like, man, I'm smiling a lot in this episode. This is fantastic. Every pun, this is absolutely
How
for me.
dare you?
The improv, the puns, there was 100% for me. But at times, like, we would go into there was one point where we were in initiative for one of the things or whatever, and I like kind of wanted to jump in and do something or whatever, and I realized like, oh, sorry, actually this wasn't my turn. And you were very kind about it. You were like, that's great, but Liara's turn is in 2 turns from now. We're going to come back to that or whatever. But like that's kind of more the style of like other systems where there isn't necessarily a turn order.
Yes.
It's like who's got something that they want to do, and everyone gets a turn. And I went totally into that every other system that I've been running lately or whatever, and went like, I've got an idea. I'm going to do
What's
this.
initiative?
Yeah.
What?
And then I'm like, oh shit, that's right. We're doing initiative. Yeah.
That's good. Like, it's good when you can kind of tie in the themes of other TTRPGs into D&D, because, you've all run various different games, and I think experiencing different TTRPGs is what makes us stronger, not only as DMs, but also as players as well.
Yeah.
I think it's something really important that you should do as a DM is play other systems. I think there's things that you not even necessarily run it, although I think that's better, but even just to play other things, get different kind of perspectives and ideas and stuff. I think that there is absolutely things that you can steal and that you
like
go.
you have the flashback mechanic that we did in the
Yeah.
pilot episode for
For the pilot episode we did Doha Heist, and there's a flashback mechanic in there which is heavily inspired, cribbed from Blades in the Dark. And there's a lot of stuff like that. I think that there's interesting things that you can come up with if you kind of think outside the traditional kind of D&D box a little bit. So I want to steer this back into the questions just a little bit, because I think that otherwise we'll just talk for 50 minutes about how great this module was. It's fantastic. But
all the praise.
we were talking about the puns, and Donna wanted to know how many of Mitch's puns do you guys remember from the episode? I
just remember being really mad at Mitch.
Yeah.
in a fun way.
Yeah.
I feel like I blocked out everything immediately afterwards. The one that I do remember is Forbearance.
Forbearance,
God
damn it.
That was going to be the one that I remembered.
Yeah.
There was another bear one later that I watched the episode earlier today, and my brain has already forced me to forget it.
I remember making a pun to Mitch, and he didn't get it.
Yeah, and then it took me like 10 seconds, and I was like, oh, hang on, it was absolutely...
It was
Yeah.
absolutely, but focusing on the loot part of it.
Oh,
Got it.
yes.
The reason I can't forget forbearance is because we didn't react.
Yeah.
I feel like we did react because I feel like the reaction was just like blank, and you insisted on like bear. Yep, we got it.
I wasn't sure if
We got it.
if like the shifter werebear like theme had been like
No,
prevalent enough.
we got it.
We definitely got it, Mitch.
I think the thing about the whole module is that everything is like a reference or a pun or a joke in some kind of way. From like everyone's names to to even the horses' names of like Subaru and
Subaru. That killed me, Mitch. Killed me.
Just some real like esoteric lesbians.
I don't think
from
I've quite recovered from that specific joke.
just traveling
Brilliant.
through.
You
That's
never
silly
will.
else.
I never will.
It's a musical. It's campy. It's
Yeah.
fun.
No,
it's
it's perfect.
silly.
Yeah.
I
Galesford.
just specifically remember when, after you failed your save against Frightened,
Yeah.
and your comeback was the Malicky this, Malicky that,
Malicky
why don't you
my
Malicky
ass.
my
I
ass?
was like, What a
incredible.
drag queen
I was just
respond
like,
to
yeah.
this.
Yeah,
Holy
that was
shit.
perfect. Absolutely. So I'm like, I can't come back from that. That's,
No, you definitely failed that.
yeah, no, that's. I mean,
Absolutely devastated.
yeah,
Yep.
that's it. I actually really like. I think that was my favorite part of the episode.
The fail.
The fail.
Yeah.
Um,
Failing is so much more interesting.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I think I really feel like it would have been a missed opportunity because I think that was such an important kind of story part for for the character and for everyone because we had been succeeding on a lot of stuff up until that point.
Yeah.
You were too good.
Yeah,
Honestly.
but I think that was an organic kind of way to introduce it into the story, and I'm really glad that I played Liara in this episode at that level because after this episode, I leveled up to level 10, and now I can't be frightened anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That is actually
It's the
quite
last
interesting.
time you'll ever be frightened.
Yeah, it was the last time, and I think that was like a really like potent.
Wow, my dispel
thing to
magic
happen.
is that good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. That,
It's
like,
a real thematic tie-in to the sense that maybe Liara's learned from this experience, and that's what's caused, this immunity to.
yeah, I think that's fantastic. Like, I think that if that hadn't happened, I think that would have we would have been worse off for it. I think that's a kind of awesome little.
I say failing is more fun, and it is a lot of the time. Sometimes it's not, but a lot of the time it is. That being said, I did make a character this season that I Vic-proofed my character.
Also, you gave me your roles.
I did.
I rolled, like, 3
the
or
best
4
I've
nat
ever
ones
rolled
in that
probably
session.
ever in D&D during that particular session, and I've never rolled that many like nat 20s in my life. But I specifically made this character that has plus 11 to most a bunch of things, plus 7 to like I don't have a negative modifier to any skill check. And I'm like, maybe I'll actually be able to do something this
I
session.
like both of you at the start were just like, we're not charisma characters.
Oh,
Are we going to be okay?
I
in the
don't.
musical?
That was yeah.
I did because I'm playing a cleric who's a wisdom character, and she has -1 to charisma. So I was like, this is a musical. Is that going to be
Affect it.
influenced
Yeah.
mechanically?
I
And you're
think
just
you
like,
had it.
nah, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But I had that the first bit where we were doing all of our introductions, and we had to do a role as backup dancers, and we passed all of them except for my last one, and because my initial thought was because I was a high wisdom character, I had pretty good animal handling. And then I was like, but what if I failed, though? What could I do that kind of would make me... Because I wanted to see the mechanic as well.
Yeah.
I appreciate that from you.
But and then you were... Because, the idea that you had with the making the animals join in was kind of what I was like, maybe I could do that. And then I didn't. And then you did anyway. I was like, oh, well, brilliant. Somebody still did it.
Yeah.
And also we got to see what happens if we fail. Turns out, psychic damage.
I kind of
Humiliation.
I think maybe one of my favourite aspects of it was, I know this isn't the question, but just that whole concept of you firing off magic missiles and then just hitting birds potentially.
I'm
seeing the feathers fall down. I was
so glad that you had shield.
I would have
because
taken the hits anyway.
Yeah,
but yeah,
Murder
it
was the way
was.
to go.
I would have burnt so many spell slots just for flavor in that thing. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that's what most of my spells this season are, is flavor spells. I don't have any damage spells. Most of them are disguise self and things like that. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to come up. It might, but I've got a sword, so I'm taking all the fun, interesting spells and some heals.
So let's go back to our questions a little bit before we go off to, because I think we want to talk about some of the rhymes and so forth. But before we go off the puns, Tessa wanted to know who did you sell your soul to for all of the puns that you were able to come up with. Was there anything you were struggling with, when you were writing it? Was this something that it just flowed naturally, or did you really try to find a way to rhyme every sentence, try and find references and puns for everything that you were?
I've got a really good friend of mine, Nick. I met him at uni, and he's the one who actually introduced me to D&D. Nick is eldritch in his nature in regards to his weaving puns into everyday kind of conversation. You start off on this tangent, you don't know where it's going, and then all of a sudden 30 seconds later, you're on like maybe 3 different pathways, and you're like, oh, okay, it's a pun about pop culture.
Yeah.
And I think Nick is one of the people that I just admire the most, but also I envy him so much because of his natural ability of just doing this. And I'm not very good when it comes to like planned comedy. A lot of my stuff is just improv nonsense.
I feel that, yeah.
For me, like a cheap shot is just take something that you know in the real world and gamify it or whatever. And so like bringing pop culture into D&D is something that's not easy per se, but it's an easy insertion in terms of how to make something a bit lighthearted, a bit of a fourth wall break, you know. So a lot of that is what I kind of tried to introduce. Like, how could we take modern day tropes and apply it to a fantasy setting?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are a lot of references which probably some people won't get because they're maybe like a little more Australian references like Dalesford and all those kind of things. But like was there any particular things that you wanted to ensure that you reference, because this is obviously such a queer module? Is there anything that you wanted to make sure that you represented about this? I know that some people might be concerned that like the villain of the episode is a drag queen or anything like that. Is there any concerns that you had from that?
Elle is not a villain because she's a drag queen. Elle is the villain because she's a bitch. Like,
yeah.
She is just not a nice person. I don't like pretty much everyone in this module is queer coded in some way, shape, or form.
No.
What? Now you tell us?
Yeah. What? I don't know. Like I just wanted to tell a story that I think would be fun, and this was a fun story that I could tell.
It was very fun.
It was.
Like,
like silly, campy, stupid fun. In regards to references and puns, not particularly. Like the 3 bears that we met were kind of a bit more. Sorry. A little bit different from what Goldilocks would have meant. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But it is that very stereotypical, like the gay scene, like we work hard, we play hard. The bears in the dance club, like, doing their beary things. But I don't know. Like I don't know how to answer your question.
No, that's okay. That's totally fine. No, I think I think that a lot of the time, the kind of parts of ourselves that we pour into writing isn't necessarily a conscious decision or anything that we I just had a lot of fun with the take. I think this is such a unique module, such a unique take on it that no one else could have written, and I think that we're going to see a whole bunch of different modules over the course of the season that are kind of different in their own ways because of that. I just think that's fantastic. So before we go on to some of the other questions, I wanted to quickly shout out. I can see that Courtney's in the chat, and you can see in front of us the set that Courtney helped make, these battle boards and also the DM screen for this season, which is fantastic. He's really outdone himself with this one. Thanks so much, Courtney, for this. We have a little bit of
castle.
Yeah, we've got a castle and everything. Lots of little houses
There's
and things
a tiny
along
fountain.
here.
Yeah, I was going to say, one thing you can't really see on the camera is amongst like all these gorgeous little circle of houses, there's a tiny little water fountain, and in contrast with like the huge ass castle, it's just my favorite thing.
Yeah, it's the best. Even like you can't really kind of see at the back of it. There's even like nice lining at the back here for us to put little things in.
Tiny little drawers.
Yeah, I put some pictures up on the Discord to check out and everything. But it really makes things easier. The kind of brief for this was the kind of stereotypical like Bay of Mist shot of Neverwinter, so we've kind of got like inspired by kind of Neverwinter Castle and Neverwinter because a lot of our modules this season are based around there. So we've kind of got a little bit of that cliffs. We've got a little bit of water and stuff at the front, which you'll be able to see in some of the episodes and everything. So big thanks to Courtney for sure.
Thanks, Court.
Thanks, Court.
Love your work.
So we were talking about some of the rhymes and things that we all did, and you did mention in the episode that you gave us a bit of a cheat sheet before the episode with kind of what to expect. Talk us through kind of that decision to to do that in advance rather than on the spot, and kind of what the discussion went into it, because I think we want to be kind of, open about the fact that, we weren't, improving those things. Like, I think,
You're ruining the magic.
we did improvise those things. We just did it slightly in advance.
Yes,
Yeah.
like, and
20 minutes in advance.
like, yeah, and that's it. I think it initially came through when I did the playtest for the module. I had some really wonderful playtesters, and they actually did a very good job kind of making up rhymes on the spot. But there was a bit of feedback in the sense that, like, this is going to be a live stream, so we don't really want any dead air space time.
We're making a show. Not
Exactly. And part of me was like, well, there's still enough time for you to be doing the writing on screen while I've got things to talk about or to present while you're doing the writing, but at the same time, it wouldn't have given great opportunity for you to kind of listen into the world around you.
Yeah, we would have been just scribbling down and being like, "What did you say?"
Yeah.
I have no idea what's happening.
We literally did it right before the episode. Like, we were we were just outside the studio about 20 minutes before, and it was kind of like, all right, well, we didn't really kind of even get to talk to each other much about what we were writing. I don't think we really kind of shared anything that we wrote. It was kind of just like, all right, well, we know we need to come up with these few things or whatever. And for me, mostly it was kind of just looking up a couple of words and kind of going, all right, what's the rough? Oh, good, I've got that ready. So now I can think about going in and setting up the set and doing all of the stuff that I need to do to get ready to begin. And then I knew that, like, if I had a rhyming word, I could fill in the rest of it, and that's mostly kind of what my notes were. And then, I knew kind of vaguely that I was, ready to do it. I think that we would have come up with some stuff on the spot.
I have no doubt in my mind.
But the chance that in the moment we would have just kind of
it's like when someone asks you what your favorite band is, and then you've never heard a band in your entire
What's music? I don't know what you're
what is
talking about.
music?
Yeah, I think it's very different to be, on the spot on camera versus on the spot. And that's not something that, we necessarily are like super experienced with compared to, some people that maybe get paid to do this.
Also, Mitch gave us the prompts beforehand. I still fucked it up.
Oh,
That's true.
Like,
You recovered well.
You had to write it in the moment
I had
anyway.
to write it in the. I've got my book here because I can't remember shit. But in the Mirror Mirror one, I did the wrong rhyming pattern. So instead of like A, I did A, and then I was like, oh no.
I said mine, and you were like, oh, I fucked it up.
I think Mitch explained it, and I was like,
Oh,
I had the same revelation, but not in the rhyme scheme. In the this is supposed to be the I just got the fear part.
Uplifting I didn't hear any of your guys mirror things because I was frantically crossing out 2 lines and going,
what rhymes with this?
What rhymes with call? What rhymes with fall? Shit.
But that's the beauty of art. Everyone has their own interpretation.
I had some like, once I looked at like vaguely what I had to write down, I had some pretty solid ideas for most of it. It's kind of just in the moment I just needed to be like, what rhymes with service also, what rhymes with this or whatever, all right, I need okay, good, all right, that's the word that I need. That's otherwise I think everything would just in the spot would just be like way or something. But yeah, I think I'm curious to see what other things people come up with when they play this module.
I would be happy to do that sort of thing on the spot in like just a home game.
Yeah,
or whatever.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
Like I know an experience in the past, like where I've had a character who's got the inspiring leader feat, where they can dish out.
I love it.
Temporary hit points once per short rest, and some of the ways of doing that, I've kind of requested people write haiku.
Yeah.
I remember playing with one of your AL characters, and she would draw a picture.
Yeah, that's right.
For the inspiring speech. So her inspiring speech was her doing like a group portrait.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And
and
she was
like
like
showing everybody.
She was a little kid, so it was like cartoon.
Yeah.
This wasn't Evie, was it?
It was
Evie.
Evie.
Oh, right, yeah.
Evil child.
Yeah, I think the very first time I played AL with you was with Evie. That was my introduction, but like was very early into AL. Was like, here's this like possessed devil child who floats around and throws knives at people. I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, this is.
Sorry about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of helping encourage people to have a bit of fun and do some improv at the table where we can kind of just...
Gentle improv.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be so formulaic with AL sometimes. We can kind of throw a spanner in the works here and there.
Yeah, I agree.
And also there was improv involved that we didn't get the heads up with the sort of sensory grounding sort of
yeah.
Oh
thing
yeah, I
as
think there were
well.
plenty of opportunities where we were kind of prompted to expand on it. I think the only thing that we got really kind of hinted at was
you need to write four lines.
You need some rhymes. Write down some rhyming words.
What rhymes with bin?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Tessa wanted to know, now that we've had a minute, is there anything that we look back on during this episode and go, oh shit, I should have done this, I should have done that, or anything? Is there anything that you, have thoughts about that you would have done differently?
My only one that I can think of is mechanical and does not matter. But like there was a couple of times when I could have just given myself advantage as I don't play a lot of rogues, and the rogues that I have played, I've played like 3 levels of it, and that's it. I haven't really done a lot of, so I forget about the
your steady aim
thing, and I didn't do that when I absolutely could have, and just been able to sneak attack the other 2 rounds that I had as well.
Yeah.
I just didn't, just forgot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tricky too, especially in there's always something that you look back on in the moment after playing a game, especially on stream, when
it's there for
panic,
immortalized.
Yeah, and you kind of go like, oh, I had all these things that I could do, and I totally forgot about them. I totally didn't do this right. I rolled the wrong dice. I didn't realize that until afterwards. Someone told me that I know now you said like, oh, roll 4d6, and I rolled 4d4 because I was...
No, I think you rolled 64, wasn't it?
No, I rolled 44.
Oh, 44.
Because I was still thinking about the last time when you had to roll 44, and I'm like, oh, I know this. I know this mechanic. I'm going to roll 44. It wouldn't have mattered because I would have just healed more with my lay on hands. I had way more. It didn't mechanically make any difference, but I just didn't even hear it in the moment. But like it's so easy to make a mistake on that. I think the thing for me is more of a role playing thing because I don't know if you guys have the same thing, but I think there's a way that we get kind of trained into thinking as playing an AL module that is a little bit throwaway, that at the end of the module it doesn't really matter, you're never going to see these characters again, in that when Nicola Nack's leg was broken, and I think that you were like, oh, you're going to go heal her at the start. At the time when that happened, I'm like, oh, I could heal her. Like, I've got, lay on hands. I could do some stuff or whatever. Yeah. And then my brain was just like, oh, no, don't waste resources on this NPC or whatever. Yeah. And then the moment was gone. And then I'm like, oh, no, I should have done that. But now it's too late. And and now we're in the middle of a song and I can't really go back to it.
Excuse me, I just need to go back and heal.
Yeah, I need to go back and do something that my character would have done in that moment. But I second thought because I'm like, oh, I don't want to waste resources on this NPC. That's
so interesting, though, like, because when you've got the dichotomy of an organised AL game versus a home game where you might not have a long rest for maybe 2 or 3 sessions.
Yeah,
if
so
you're
many
lucky.
more.
And AL can be so inconsequential at the end of things. You're just like, I've just got all of this cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm getting all this stuff back straight away. It doesn't really matter.
And so you can actually just dive into the flavour and the role play of things because you're not held back.
I think part of it too was a DM brain thing because at the same time I was also like, well, Mitch has just said, I'm not going to help in this scene because I've got a broken leg.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be like, well, actually, I heal her leg, and now you have to play
It's
this
fair.
NPC.
Yeah.
They would have gotten into Subaru and just...
like, all right, thanks, we're late for another appointment or whatever.
I've actually been trying to get out of here for the past 3 days. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't, because I think that there's things like that happen as a DM where you're like, I've set this thing up in this specific way where... I've balanced this encounter or whatever with
this
the idea
NPC
that
can't come with you because of this reason.
Yeah.
Well, I've fixed this reason now. You can come with us. No.
No, I specifically said the thing so that you wouldn't do that because I know you smart asses.
You heal their leg. And then as they're walking down the steps of the caravan, I've broken it again.
I've broken the other leg.
No.
Eldritch appears out of nowhere and banishes them.
My reasoning for not doing that, because I was like, I'm a cleric, I could heal her. It's like, but Ven is not that sort of cleric. Yeah. She has some healing spells, but she's not a healer.
Yeah, she's a student.
Yeah, she's an Arcana cleric.
Quick question. So, Ven's got this very interesting personality of cleric, but also arcana. Did you get Ven's name from like a Venn diagram?
I did not.
Okay.
It just works.
It just works. So Ven's name is Venfira. And then I was just like, I like this name that I've put a PH where an F should be. It means it's fantasy. There's a Y in there as well. And then I was just like, oh, I can't be bothered having a long character name.
Yeah.
Oh, I never do.
Like, I've definitely had character names that are, like, longer, and I was just like, I just want quick, to the
One
point.
syllable.
I was just like, Ven, brilliant, done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
It was going to be
updating.
Ven or it was going to be Fee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was updating these little token things for the little initiative trackers that we use for the season for these, and it's really funny actually. I think that almost everyone had a character name which is about the same length as the character name from last season.
Yeah.
I didn't have to change the font size very much on a lot of them because I
Amazing.
was just updating certain people's things or whatever, and it's just like, all right, another 3-letter name for.
Hey, I had 4 letters last
Yeah,
season.
sometimes there's 4.
That's huge
Sometimes
for
there's
me.
4.
My 2 characters in like my home games and stuff have either 4 or 2-letter names.
Yeah.
But they have longer names. They do not go by them. I have to shorten the names.
I often have a longer name that has a shorter version.
Yeah.
Like last season, that was effectively what it was. But Liara doesn't really have a longer name.
Yeah.
I'd like to think I did this for the sake of production, that I picked characters with short names because I have obnoxiously long names.
But I also love about your characters, Alec, is all of them have this interesting convention where they start with the letter R.
R, yes.
Yeah.
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 Why
It
R?
gets hard at times. It's like there's nothing special. My first 3 AL characters happened to be R. Like
Okay.
I did not intend that. They just happened to be R, and I'm like, I guess this is it.
Yeah.
And it has helped me sort of like try and like when I'm trying to think of a name, and it's like, okay, having some sort of constraint makes it easier, but it also does make it harder because I have, I think, 40 plus AL characters
Yes.
at this point, and
Just a couple.
trying to that's why Rezez's name is Rezez. Rosny, like these names are like do not sound like other R names because there are so many other R names that already sound like existing names,
Yeah.
and that's how you get Rezez.
It works.
I like to imagine a Rolodex with like just off like A, B, C, and like nothing here. They're like,
I do. Like if I'm like if
You
there's
can imagine
like
your
a,
D&D Beyond character page.
Yeah.
there are, like it's pretty useless to sort in
So
alphabetical
like,
was
order.
gonna say,
the type
It's
in
like
R.
alphabetical.
You're like,
Shit.
it's like 40 characters. 40 characters. All right.
Sort by level.
A.
Yeah, there are like those like 2,000 names and stuff like that. It's like usually like like if it's like 3 or 5 like 5 pages, like go to 4th page. That's all I need to see.
Do you have like a list of like names for future characters?
No,
you know?
because when it comes to names, I'm very much like, what would this person have been named in the in the culture or whatever they're in? So it has to be a little more organic for me like that rather than name first.
Well, let's talk about characters while we're here. Did you have any particular, things that you wanted to do with a character this season? Was there any reason that you picked the character that you did?
I think, because I have secret knowledge about the general gist of what the plot, the overarching plot of this season, and because it's very magic focused. Spoiler.
Because of the Weave Saga is magic.
Yeah.
I know, right? Like you're hearing it here first.
Yeah.
I thought that, and because we were playing higher level, than we did last time. I was like, which of my existing characters would work well for this, and who do I think has like a good, funny personality? I don't think it showed as much in that episode because he was very snarky. Because you started it by saying we are upset about fucking
Yeah,
Jimmy.
I really like that convention that you put in.
Yeah,
by the way, it's like creating a backstory for our characters
Yeah.
that you don't normally get.
I can't stand we meet in a tavern, let's go. I'm just like, well,
No, you've been traveling for a while now,
Yeah.
and
there needs to be a dynamic here. You hate each other.
I think there's a tricky balance with that though, because
Drama.
like I think in your adventure, like you've got kind of some time to put into that, but with the structure of it. But
if we've got to get through 5 combats,
yeah, with the
really
nature of
have time.
AL, like if you have like a combat heavy thing,
Yeah.
if you have 2 or 3 combats and I think you don't have time for 30 minutes of backstory.
See,
Yeah.
this is why I like having one major thematic battle
Yeah.
where you can kind of just go gung-ho with all your resources and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially in
And
the
make it,
2-hour
like, super
module.
deadly.
2-hour module,
Yeah.
I think, has been a real challenge for us this
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
I do like
Um,
having the other encounters other than a combat. Like
Mhm.
the for yours it was dance, whatever. For other things it could be like a chase thing or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah, it
that.
can be
I
a
like
trap. It can
yeah,
be a,
exactly. I like having those kind of encounters, and then we can have the big battle.
Yes.
Yeah. Not every initiative, not every encounter has to be a fight.
A fight, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about Cav? Was there any reason that you went with Cav?
As in the name or the character?
The character, like in terms of like
okay,
the
because I was
details
like the
of the character.
naming thing is because I tend to go for either vowels or curt sounds.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like 3 out of 4 of my home games that I played with you, Brendan, my character's name starts with K.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
Cass and Cav. Yeah.
Cass, Cav, Kiva,
Yeah.
Corey.
Yeah.
So it just that was along the lines, and I, they do have a long name, but it was kind of like tied into the fact that they're on the run, like she's running from stuff. She wouldn't use her full name, and like the reason I came up with like the backstory.
So she has a longer name that we haven't heard about.
It's not interesting. It's just I didn't give it to production, therefore it doesn't exist.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah. So they do have like a longer name, but they would never use it. And I think I tend to play, my favourite kind of characters to play are high charisma characters, because I like to talk and I don't like the roles to fuck me up when I do that. I like to have something towards persuasion.
Charisma characters get stuff done.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I knew that I wanted to play charisma. I played Paladin Warlock last season. I was like, what else do I enjoy playing? I was like, my favourite AL character that I've played is a Swords Bard Rogue. And I was like, cool, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing that again. It's my favourite thing. It also means that she doesn't have to be like the lawful good, people pleaser, which is, I do tend to gravitate towards like a neutral good kind of character that just wants to help. I'm just trying to help everyone.
Yeah.
Like, but what if I did a character that's not that for once? Like, still a team player, obviously, because you need to be, but like maybe a little bit sassy sometimes and not always the complete good guy.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm gonna do that.
I like a bit of selfishness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I do not play a lot of selfish characters.
That's true, you don't.
Yeah, thank you.
I had a similar idea in terms of playing like a charisma character this season, because I also did a lot of the planning for like who was on each episode, and I knew that the episodes that I was going to be on were going to be more role playing heavy episodes. So I thought like, all right, well, I should bring a character that's going to talk. I shouldn't bring a character that's going to be like a real combat machine kind of
And
And
yeah.
I mean, I think it's hard to make a paladin with the ability to smite that isn't like.
This is why it's my favorite class.
Yeah, I mean it's fun in that regard, but like I think Liara is a character who I originally created for a homebrew game, and then I eventually made an AL version of because I enjoyed playing her so much that I wanted to keep playing her, and because she is just this like gifted to DM's character of like a character that doesn't mess around, doesn't spend a whole bunch of time debating whether or not she should do something. She
You mean she doesn't spend 20 minutes deciding to go through a door or not?
No,
just
she goes up to
goes
the door and she opens.
Yeah.
She goes to open the door. It doesn't matter whether the door will explode. It doesn't matter whether the door is is locked or anything like that. She goes to a fork in the road and says, "Adventurers go left," and goes left. Doesn't mess around. And I think that's like it's just such a fun and freeing thing to
the
play.
DM has given you a book.
A
I
character,
will take it now.
Charisma characters get stuff done.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially and a character with a -1 modifier to wisdom and -1
Yes.
modifier to
Low
intelligence.
wisdom, high charisma is my favourite.
Fantastic.
Wisdom precludes boldness.
Yeah.
No wisdom, boldness.
Yep.
Hey, that doesn't necessarily mean that. I'm a high wit. Besides is high whiz, high charisma.
What about Van? Was it because of the magic?
No, I I like playing clerics.
Yeah.
Best
And
class.
It
Most
is.
diverse
I think
class,
cleric
definitely.
is potentially my favorite class, and I do think it is very diverse. Like there are so many
You
different.
can
types
have
of
Uxor clerics and no one
Yes.
is remotely the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, Arcana Cleric was something that I had looked at in the past as like being, oh yeah, I'm gonna build a new character for AL. Yeah, I might, and then change my mind eventually and never play it. And I was like, nah, screw it. I'm gonna play an Arcana
gonna
Cleric
do
for
it.
this. And then when it was like, the Guardians of the Weave or whatever it's called,
Protectors.
Protectors of the Weave, that's the same
Close
thing.
enough.
And I was just like, that feels right. Let's go with
Yeah.
Arcana Cleric. But when I was trying to figure out what character I was going to play, I created like a Shepherd Druid as well. I made a Ancestral Guardians Barbarian because one of my favorite favorite characters I've ever played is an Ancestral Guardians Barbarian.
She's very good.
She's so much fun because when you get to the higher levels of that, you basically can stop other people from taking damage.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. But I was like, I like playing clerics. I like playing, and I know that this a lot of people don't like them, but I like playing elves.
Mm.
No,
And I was like-
elves are awesome.
Screw it, I'm gonna play a elven cleric. So yeah, that was yeah.
Clerics, I think, are a deceptively fun class to play.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people that maybe haven't played a lot of different classes in D&D think like, oh, you've got to
they're just healing.
They're just
That's
healing,
all they're
whatever.
doing.
It's
No.
really not like they're such a fun support class.
They
to
are
play.
also
don't have to be
incredibly
sporty.
good.
No,
they
that's
are
true.
incredibly good damage dealers.
Yes.
Yeah, war
Yeah.
clerics.
Yes.
Spirit
Yeah,
Guardian.
there's a whole
Spirit
Tempest
Guardians is
clerics.
great. Like the high level spells that you get with clerics, so many of them are damage dealing.
Yeah.
Like I will admit, I built Ven to be sort of like a utility caster, so more helpful outside of combat than in combat. So she has a lot of like enhance ability. She has speak with dead. She has like all sorts of things like that. She also doesn't have a lot of damage spells that aren't cantrips.
But you have so many cantrips on the character.
Because I've got Arcana Initiate, I think Arcane Initiate, which is part of the
Magic
cleric.
initiate.
So-
Magic Initiate.
Well, there's the thing you get as that sort of cleric is you get to pick some wizard spells that become
okay.
cleric spells.
Yeah.
And then under the AL rules, I've also got Magic Initiate Wizard, which I've taken some sort of utility ones that I didn't have to use my intelligence card
Yeah.
on.
yeah.
And so it's just all these cantrips.
I have Magic Initiate Sorcerer on Liara, which is
That's why you have
which is
shield.
why I have
Shields.
shield. I think it's a fun kind of little way to add like an interesting kind
Yeah.
of tweak to a.
So
to
normally
a
I would take Magic Initiate, and I think I have with most of my AL characters. Cav has Skilled, because once again, making it Vic-proof, and bumping up all those proficiencies on the skill checks.
Well, it was also fun being able to take the Magic Initiate because it meant I could get Find Familiar.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, hell yeah, Ven would have a familiar.
And now we get a tiny little owl.
Tiny little owl. I don't even know if people actually saw him on the
He's
stream
so
because
Oh yeah,
he's
he's
so
little.
tiny.
He's on there somewhere. Like, let's hang on. Let's get Hootie.
Hootie, where are you?
Little.
I forgot to
Hootie. I don't know if you can.
introduce
I don't know if you
Hootie,
guys can
'cause
see that. If anyone.
The dot
Just
on
zoom
Brandon's
in.
So,
This
yeah,
this
there's the little,
tiny
like,
little guy.
Dot.
Yeah.
Tilt your hand forward.
He's
Yeah,
so
that's
small. There we go.
This
Yep.
Hootie.
We're doing
Yeah.
a-
Tiny.
So little.
He's so little. I'm absolutely gonna
Lose
lose
him?
him by the end of the season. So I'm really. I said that I was gonna print extra of him just in case, and I haven't done that. So I feel like it's also tempting fate if I.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see what my plan
You
is
said it
I
now,
so-
I now leave my minis here. So if they get lost,
Yeah.
not my fault.
Yeah, that's it. All right. Well, I think that pretty soon we'll maybe take some questions from the chat. I can see that we've got a few people here that maybe, I'll give you a few minutes to drop some questions in the chat while we kind of talk about the last question that we had submitted during the week. Mike wanted to know what is the canon pronunciation of Mistbourne, and how did the group come up with their name in universe?
In universe, I can't help you. In universe, I can't help you. But the official pronunciation is Mistbourne. There's no
vowel.
vowel. It's BN. Like if you were phonetically transcribing it, there would be no like vowel in there. It'd just be an N. It's Mistbourne.
Like Melbourne.
Like Melbourne.
Yeah. I had mentally, like, obviously not been saying it to people, but I had been in my head thinking Mistbourne, and then I
Well,
realized.
no, we can't do that.
We
No,
can't do Mistbourne.
obviously that's that can't be
It's
done.
protected.
Yeah. Well, when I suggested the name at all, I was like, probably not.
Yeah,
Because,
I mean,
you know,
it's obviously Mistbourne because of Melbourne. That's the way that we pronounce Melbourne, and there's a lot of tie into that. So to kind of peel back the layers of that, we wanted to create this organization in world that we could use as like a quest giver for adventures that we write, and also as like a proxy organization for the Melbourne D&D Adventurers League, for us as kind of players and everything to build into our community as this kind of thing that spans between the real world and the game world.
Faction, because
yeah.
that exists as a mechanic.
It's effectively a faction. So in D&D in 5th edition, there are a bunch of like set factions, like the Harpers and the Emerald Enclave and so forth. So it's effectively kind of plays that role, but for us in a thing that we control. A lot of the NPCs in that are some of our like old retired characters and things like that. You'll meet some of them later on in the season. That Arrow is one of my characters. He comes up 2 or 3 times during the season. But to kind of explain the name a little bit, we wanted something which said, Melbourne D&D Adventurers League without being on the nose, without being obvious. It has to be something that sounds like a real organization but it has to sound like something that exists in the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
But also kind of makes sense in the real world and has references and so forth. So to kind of break it down a little bit, the mist element comes from I wanted to have some reference to Melbourne in some way, and there were a lot of ones which were a little bit more obvious. But the mist thing comes from that the Yarra River, the actual name in the native languages of Australia that were here before any of us or anything.
Yeah.
I think it's Birrong. I think I remember off the top of my head. I was going to write this down, but I'm probably getting that wrong.
That would make sense with that area being called Birrong.
Yeah, I'll double check that later. I do have it written down somewhere. I was going to look it up today and I forgot. I'm sorry. But it translates to like the River of Mist and Shadows. And that is, the effectively about the Yarra River. So we wanted to reference, something that is, kind of quintessentially something that runs through Nam, which is the Yarra River. And so Mist comes from that, and it also has a tie-in to Neverwinter, which we talked about the Bay of Mists, which is the little bay in front of the cliffs on our DM screen, and the Bay of Mist. So the organization in world, in canon, was created by these retired adventurers, and the meeting happened at these cliffs at the Bay of Mists in front of Neverwinter. So there's a Bay of Mists reference to Mists, to the Yarra River, to Melbourne, and it eventually became Mistbourne. And that is effectively how it kind of came together.
Also, I'm pretty sure there was about 2 months worth of conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
There were other options and things at the moment at the time, and that's kind of eventually what we landed on.
Thanks.
It was a suggestion that Vic put forward. Ended up being fantastic. Vic also did the banner that we used for it that you'll see on some of the graphics and everything. So really. We kind of wasted a whole bunch of time talking about it, and then Vic came in at the end and went, "No, it should be this." And then yeah, you're right. So
and here's your logo.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and here's the logo too. And I'm like, all right, cool,
I'm
yeah.
the person who's worked in branding. What?
Ages and ages and ages ago, when this idea was first in inception, it was many dedicated dungeoneers.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. I
Well,
got it.
that is the reason why technically like the full thing for Mistbourne is like Dungeon Delvers and Lore Seekers. So the acronym is MDDAL, which is Melbourne DDAL. So some of that is buried in like kind of the explanation for the organization and so forth in the modules.
Yeah,
I don't
and it
think that
doesn't
we explain
need
the
to be
name.
put into the game. If you're running it, you don't have to.
There's no reason to explain any of it. It's just kind of that's how it came about.
Unless you're singing a song about it.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, if you're singing a song about it.
Like, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
As you do.
Yeah.
Randomly.
And it's much easier to rhyme things with bin than bin. So
That's
yes, it's fine.
Tessa wanted to know how would your character react if they were to see Biddy in the street now.
Oh, Biddy.
Can I share, like, this is I don't know if this counts as canon, But when you were asking like to describe it and stuff like that, what I constantly had in the back of my head is Rosez totally killed Biddy. like,
No one knows though. Like,
I reckon Cav saw that and was like, yeah, I'm right.
like oh, Biddy ran away and like Rosez murked them the first chance they got. That's why the whole time anyone mentions Biddy, Rosez like, oh Biddy, drop it, don't.
Does anyone else have a canon like vision of what Biddy looks like? Biddy in my mind is like a gnome.
Oh, I
Yeah.
was
Yes.
like a halfling.
Yeah.
I thought
Gnome
goblin.
for me, but
Yeah.
Little goblin, okay.
So
Yeah.
like that real kind of small.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Alright.
there's definitely something about Biddy. Maybe it's just because it's Bitty,
Bitty.
but
Yeah.
like everyone considers this small. I figured like it was like either a rogue or a wizard or something, like some tiny little snivelly kind of.
Yeah, my thing was halfling wizard.
Yeah.
I didn't have class, but I was thinking gnome mutton chops, very skittish, very fast talking, very like, oh hey guys, yeah, I got something for you guys, like, something like that.
And I'm out of here.
Yeah.
See, I kind of had the idea of like an artificer almost.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
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 I think that would work. too.
Visually, that is
Yeah.
close to what I would think as well.
Yeah, int-based as well, so I'd go with, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, smarter than Ven, and she was not happy about
Yeah. Actually, Ben killed them.
it.
Actually, everyone killed Biddy, and just like.
And we never talk about it.
Well,
I don't think that
Separate.
Leonardo
I was
would
about
kill
to make a
Biddy.
reference that I don't know how many people would have understood, but there was an episode of Daria
Oh,
back in the day
Yeah.
where she falls asleep and then has a dream about Kevin dying.
Oh.
And it's like 7 different people were involved in the murder.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, it's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do a
Oh, yeah.
a
Biddy is
session where
Caesar.
it's just different flashbacks of.
Liara definitely didn't, though.
No, I think that if Liara ran into him, she knows that the others are like more mad at him than she is, and I think that she would try to be like, "You've got to get out of the city," like
Leave.
like.
Oh,
Hulk-
hey, Biddy,
now.
Biddy, shoot!
You gotta-
Don't let the others
gotta
see.
go, yeah, like, have you seen the other? Don't go in there. Don't go in there. You gotta go. You gotta go there. And just
They
kinda-
will kill you
Yeah.
because they thought they already.
Courtney wants to know, are there any mechanics you'd like to see in AL sessions? Combat seems to usually be a big draw, but he personally likes more of the RP puzzle mechanics. Is there anything
Puzzles, God,
I love
puzzles.
puzzles.
I love puzzles so much.
well, I have good news for the finale.
Yes.
There's puzzles?
There's puzzles. There's even, you might say riddles.
That's my favorite. In one of our home games, I know that our DM specifically got a book, like a thing off DM's Guild, it might have been, of like puzzles and riddles, just
For us.
because she knows how much
Yeah.
I like doing them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you, Imogen.
I wrote all of the riddles for that set. It'll be probably around about the start of episode 8.
Nice.
So yeah, I know you two are on it.
I think I'll be
you're
in
on
there
it
as
as
well.
well.
I think it's
I
all
think
about-
it's-
I think this is
it's
a,
us.
is,
I
yeah.
think this
I
is
think,
a, yeah.
I think we bring it full circle with
Yeah.
the casting with that. So yeah, look forward
Gang
to
back together.
yeah. So that'll be fun. But like, I think it's tricky because, D&D is kind of, we talk about these 3 pillars things of like exploration, which is kind of actually really a broad thing
Yeah.
of role playing and of combat, and exploration kind of fits all of these like puzzles and traps and all this kind of stuff. I like to build in a lot of traps and things challenges that aren't combat, ideally, if I can avoid it. But every module is different. I'm writing the finale, and by definition it is a little bit more straightforward than something that I would usually write, just because it has to be the finale. It has to wrap up the storyline. So I think it's tricky in a way, because not every module is perfect for those things. But I don't know. I would like to see. I would like to see more skill challenge things.
I love skill challenge. Yeah.
But it's a difficult thing to balance as well, because you want to make it something that everyone can do.
Yeah.
A lot of the fallbacks that I do with some of the modules that I've written is like, here's something that you have to do. Here's the DC that you have to hit. Let the characters pitch how they do it.
Tell me how you do
Yeah,
this.
it's not actually important most of the time what they're rolling. It doesn't matter that they roll nature or they roll arcana or whatever. If it makes sense narratively, collaboratively,
Yeah.
that they roll athletics in that situation. Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there's one thing of being a DM in these particular approaches that I like as well, is empowering the player to have a part in the storytelling as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just the DM's game, it's everyone's game. Everyone's here to play, everyone's here to tell the story collaboratively. And when you can empower the player to say, this is how I'm approaching this obstacle, great, awesome. Roll the dice. Are there consequences or are there no consequences? And then letting the player kind of describe, what does it look like when when shit hits the
I
fan?
think that there's another side to that you don't always want to be giving the player a tap in of their best available skill.
Yes.
I do think that sometimes it is the right decision to make them roll something that they're not good at.
Yes.
But it doesn't necessarily have to all be that. It doesn't have to be. You have to be good at Arcana to get past this room, and if you're not, there's
You're
there's
stuck
no
here.
other way
There's
to do
no
it.
other way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always a way through the door. It's just whether or not something's getting broken, whether that's the door or whether that's
Yeah.
There's also like going back on that sort of idea, going back to puzzles. I know that it's a meme in regard to D&D, but like that parties can't solve puzzles or can't solve riddles, and it's like, oh, you got to get the one for like kindergarten children.
Yeah.
So that it's just but you can do that in character though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can get your player to roll a skill check in character to help them
To give them a
with
hint.
the riddle
Yeah.
in real life.
Yeah. It's a lot of that is DM skills of trying to find a way to, that it's easier said than done. It's something that comes with experience a little bit to make that narrative and not for it to just be like, oh, roll this.
I'm gonna give you the answer.
And also sometimes it's the DM style that it is just you play well, and sometimes the players like that as well. Like I think that there is a bunch of different ways
Yeah.
obviously that can go, but.
I mean,
Depends
if
on
I
the
can't
players,
figure out a
depends on the
puzzle,
DM.
I just sit there and wait for Siobhan to do it.
Yeah.
Usually works.
Yeah, I suspect that there's going to be a lot of puzzle stuff that you solve in that episode. Well, I'm curious to see. We'll take some bets on how many you personally get.
Oh, now I'm gonna not get any of them.
I think we can all
So
agree
much
though, like the
pressure.
one thing we need to see more of is buff lady arm wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. Like, my character this season isn't strong, but I think she can still be buff.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
She's not a strength-based character. but-
Right?
Narratively buff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ven has a +1 to strength, which is like, that's a bit weird. It's like, nah, she's been lugging books around.
Yeah.
They're big tomes.
Yeah.
She got them indoor kid muscles.
Fantastic. I think maybe last opportunities for questions from the chat or anything, but is there anything that you guys want to, talk about, any favourite moments, anything that you want to talk about before we start to wrap up for the episode?
I did love Razez just taking Ven and Cav away from Leo. Just like, Leo, just give us 1 second. And then like all three of us just looking over.
Because that's already done away with Biddy, so maybe Liara's next on the list.
No, see, that actually is because he's not a good guy. He wants you to think he's a good guy, but he's not a good
Not.
guy at all.
Yeah, I think on contrast, I think Cav doesn't want you to think they're a good guy, but kind of is deep down.
Yeah.
But don't show that. I don't care about you.
Very tsundere.
Well, so I'm thinking I get a new dice for the next episode.
Oh, I'm framing my dice. I'm never using them again, and they're going up on the wall.
Fantastic. All right. Well, look, I think that I think that's probably a good place to end it for now. Look forward to come back, watch next week. Mike will be DMing his adventure, The Broken Stronghold, 7 p.m. on Tuesday. You'll get to meet basically the other half of the characters for this season. So there are 9 player characters this season. Playable characters. We all get to play
The
them.
audience at home get to play along.
Look, I did all right for an hour. I get to mess up at the end. But no, there are 9 player characters, including Mike's. So you've met 4 of them. You'll meet 4 more next week, and then the week after, Mike will be playing, and then you'll have met the rest. Join us next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. For episode 2. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.